Uh, Happy Friday, everyone. So, yeah, let's get my low out of the way. I was wrong about my NFL pick. I, Seriously, I thought it was over. I thought it was over the fact that if I don't pick the Colts to win, I thought, like, if whatever I pick the Colts to do, they do the opposite. If I think they're going to lose, they win. If they think they're going to win, they lose. I don't know what's the deal. I don't know what the deal with Denver is either. It's crazy. Like, they got Russell Wilson. You know, I don't know. This is quite, it's quite odd. I'll leave it to you that much. My high is, yesterday there was no episode of Hot Ones, which of course I will be talking about today. And I got to spend some time with my folks too. That was nice. We went out to Five Guys for dinner. Five Guys. It was actually really, really good. And, my act of kindness was I ran some errands for my grandmother, and when I got to my folks' place to visit, I took care of a couple things for them. You know, just a simple, nice, quiet day, but a good one. Although I will admit, like, I did not sleep very well at all last night. Like, I just couldn't fall asleep until like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. I mean, so it's going to hit me eventually. I know that. But at this moment, I'm surprised I'm not like completely just like seriously. Like, I really could fall asleep at any moment. But I'm not. I'm actually pretty, I guess I'm a bit energized. So I have a new episode of Hot Ones to talk about. Oh, actually, before I talk about Hot Ones, I'll talk about Hot Ones first. So, that was a very interesting episode. It was. I mean, I mentioned before that, I had no idea who Kid Cudi was before this episode, but I actually learned a lot. Some of the most notable things that I will admit, like, he talked about how he was at this one fashion show, but like he was high the entire time. He talked about like the mixtape that was his watershed moment. He talked about like he ultimately got to work with the Ziggo. And it's pretty enlightening stuff. Like, the latter half is where things got really interesting. Partly because, like, listen, when you get to the latter half of that Hot Ones gauntlet, your mouth is on fire. And, I mean, Hot Ones has been pretty great about going pretty much anywhere they can when it comes to asking a question. But, like, I did learn a couple of things that, like, really stuck out to me. Particularly that of, for one thing, Sean asked about, when Seth Rogen mentioned that thick burger patties are for dickheads. Meanwhile, Kid Cudi doesn't really care, and neither do I. In fact, if you're a longtime fan of First We Feast and you know who George Motes is, he hates ketchup on a burger. Kid Cudi will put like all the ketchup on a burger. I thought that was actually kind of funny. You know, I smirked and laughed at that a little bit. That was great. And this is after he ate the bomb too, so that just tells you something right there. Obviously, every great artist starts with small shows, but believe it or not, Kid Cudi did like a lot of bar mitzvahs. If you don't know what a bar mitzvah is, it's something that Jewish people do when they turn 13. basically, like, they signify that they're becoming an adult. I think it's a bar mitzvah if it's a guy, and a bat mitzvah if it's a girl. I think that's how it goes. I'm not Jewish, I wouldn't know this. But it was really interesting how, well, the very first bar mitzvah he ever did, he got like $30,000. So, of course, he mentioned how lucrative that was. But he got himself a Rolex, which, if you don't know what a Rolex is, it's actually a very special but very expensive watch. I'll actually never forget my first experience with a Rolex in general, and it was actually coming back from Trinity Palling for spring break. Yeah. Believe it or not, it was my father's birthday, and he was actually going to be turning 50. Now, his birthday had already passed, but we hadn't gotten his gift yet. I mean, he knew he was going to be getting... Wait, what is it? I think it was his 50th. Wait, what was it? Because I know, because we're coming back from Trinity Palling, and we got the Rolex at the Pyramid Mall that's in Binghamton. And I forget what the occasion was for, but basically, my mom and I picked out a Rolex for my father. Yeah, we picked it out. And he's worn that Rolex ever since. I actually, in the end, like, there was a few choices. We went like, the Rolex he has is like a blue face, which is actually kind of reminiscent of, actually, it looks more like a combination of both Horsehead's shade of blue and Trinity Palling's shade of blue, when you think about it. But you have a little gold, a little silver. And the thing about Rolexes is, one of the reasons why they're so expensive is they're one of the most accurate sets of watches ever. Like, ever. And they've been around for like a couple hundred years now. Or roughly that long. They've been around for a long time, and so they've earned like their pedigree. Like, I don't know. I mean, I live in a day and age where if I need to look at the time, that's what my phone is for. I personally have never worn a Rolex. I mean, there's no way I could ever afford one. So, hey, maybe if I ever get monetized, maybe I'll use that for a Rolex. I don't know. I'll do it for something. I'll tell you, if I do get a Rolex, you guys will be the first to know. So, that was actually quite interesting. But I think the most interesting question to me was, they were on the 7th wing. And Sean mentioned how rap icons like Jay-Z and Nas and Snoop Dogg and Eminem, they have proven that they can age with the genre. I mean, actually, Doug Walker once put this brilliantly when he talked about that one Looney Tunes cartoon that came out like in the early 2010s, where he said that while great characters never change, environments do. And it's the same way with, who I just mentioned, Jay-Z, Nas, Snoop, and Eminem. Like, they've always stayed who they are, and they've been true to who they are. But I can tell you right now, the early 2000s were a heck of a lot different than they are now. Oh, trust me, they were. That's a 20-year gap in between, like, lots of things have happened. I mean, back in the early 2000s, there wasn't even not to get all political or anything, but back in, like, the early 2000s, no one ever thought there'd be a black president. But then we got one. No one ever thought that there'd be such involvements like, Me Too and Black Lives Matter. I mean, I guess technically they did kind of exist, but they weren't brought up to the mainstream like they were in the last decade or so. So that happened. And yet through it all, like, they stayed who they are. And Kid Cudi was talking about how, like, yeah, he loves doing what he does, but he thought it would be kind of neat if, like, at some point, like, he decides to, like, for maybe 10 years, just become a kindergarten teacher, just because. And it got me thinking. I mean, listen, if you wanted a very, very, very poor example of the whole great characters changing but never changing what environments do, well, and keep in mind, this is a very, 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 very poor example. Me. I mean, since I started making videos, that's when I mentioned the Me Too movement. That, me starting videos in the Me Too movement were, like, kind of overlapping a little bit. We had a pandemic happen. Black Lives Matter and everything else that's happened. We had we transitioned from having President Donald Trump in the office to Joe Biden. And not that and keep in mind, I never talk about politics anyway, but to no one's surprise, no matter who's in office, no one's ever going to be happy. And yet, here I am. All these major things have happened, but I'm still here. Still doing this. And yeah, again, I mentioned this as a poor example, just simply because really all I do is about as simple as taking my phone out, setting the video app on my phone, and pressing record. I mean, what you see here is a one-man show. But I like to think it's at least an honest one-man show. I'll give myself some credit a little bit. I mean, my therapist has been telling me I should do a better job of patting myself on the back. I can do that, right? I'm allowed to do that. But it really is fascinating. Like, I mean, more often than not, when people find the job they want to do for the rest of their lives, they really do wind up sticking to it. But there are some events that can dictate otherwise. Maybe their job requires something that involves lots of physical labor and yet somehow they get injured so they can't do it anymore. Or maybe the profession that they always wanted to do wound up not being what they were looking for, so, they wind up doing something else. It happens. I mean, for all I know, one day I really could just say, I don't want to make videos anymore, and I'll just stop. I mean, first of all, it's never going to happen. If it ever does, and it won't, if it ever does, I'll definitely give you guys some sort of heads up. Gosh, I've been doing this for, 1,741 days. Why would I just do that to you? So, there you go. So this was actually a really great episode for that reason alone. Just thinking about my perspective and how things are in life. And what I want to go from there. Again, we just went through a pandemic. The world as we knew it before will never be the same. The environment around not just me, but everyone around us has changed. Some would definitely say for the worse. Others, some would say for the better, but you're not going to find many people like that. But through it all, I'm at least going to try and stick to who I am. And that's what I can do. So yeah, this is a really great episode of High Ones. It really taught me a very valuable lesson about how life changes, but it will go on. It was actually really cool. Not to mention, I love how Kid Cudi referred to his music as cyberpunk. Like, it's synthy, but kind of edgy with some reckless abandon to it. I love that. That's cool. Maybe I'll check out Intergalactic at some point and get back to you guys on that. Because the animation for that looks incredible. Yeah, Kid Cudi was on Hot Ones to promote to Intergalactic, which is now on Netflix. I may have to go check it out. I don't know. I'll think about it. If I ever do, I'll let you guys know. So, there was a couple things I did want to talk about yesterday. Foremost, we got the trailer for The Legend of Vox Machina Season 2! Yes! If you don't remember, earlier this year I did a video on my thoughts of the first season of The Legend of Vox Machina. And if there's one thing you need to know about me, I'm a huge fan of voiceover work. And that show was made like for voiceover actors by voiceover actors. It was great. And I'm just putting that, and I'm putting it in the simplest terms as I can. If you haven't seen The Legend of Vox Machina on Amazon Prime, or any other way you can view it, I highly recommend you check it out. It's a little graphic though. Like, this is, little kids should not be watching this. Well, I want to stress that part. There is some swearing. Like, we're talking some F-bombs swearing. A lot of F-bombs. So, yeah, viewer discretion is advised, but, I mean, I'm 32 years old. You know, it doesn't bother me. That's all I'm saying. And speaking of trailers, well, actually, this really wasn't a trailer for The Legend of Vox Machina Season 2. It was really like Scanlan singing a recap song of the first season, which is good. I'll put a link to the video. I'll put a link to that video in the description down below. And okay, you guys have known me long enough to know that I do love me some video games. I've talked about video games a fair amount of times doing these videos. And growing up, I mean, yeah, we had a Sega Genesis, and yeah, growing up, we had a Sega Genesis, we got Sonic the Hedgehog, and yeah, we had the PlayStation, gotta have Crash Bandicoot. But foremost, I can tell you for a fact that my brother and I were Nintendo babies. I bring this up because the trailer for the Super Mario Brothers movie first aired yesterday. It was live on Nintendo Direct. You know, we had some words from Shigeru Miyamoto, the owner of Nintendo. Had a few words from Chris Pratt, who's going to be the voice of Mario, and Jack Black, who's going to be the voice of Bowser. And I'm just going to say, here's the thing. One of my all-time dreams is to have a TV show that's Super Smash Brothers. I think this is probably, if this movie winds up being good, and I will admit I kind of hope it does for the sake of not just all Nintendo fans, but just like the entity of Nintendo as a whole. I hope it's good. And if it winds up being good, we just might be getting, you know, a Super Smash Bros. Universe. Or a Nintendo Cinematic Universe. Who knows? But I gotta admit, the trailer that I saw, it's good. From what I saw in that trailer, I mean, the animation, it's by Illumination, which, yeah, they're a bit hit and miss when it comes to, they're hit and miss when it comes to the stories. I mean, let's be honest, they're the people who made the Minions. You know, they know where the money is. Telling a good story really has never been like their strongest suits. I mean, the first Despicable Me movie was great. And kind of think of that's really about it. Yeah. Again, they focus on, they know where the money is. I'll give them that. But I'm very certain that the people behind the Super Mario Brothers movie, they know what they're doing. They'd have to. I mean, the fact that they're like, okay, we're not doing any live action nonsense. We're gonna make it fully animated, which it should be, and go from there. That's what they have to do. That's what they should do. I can't believe, like, seriously, you can make a video game movie good. Just don't make it live action. It's too limiting. If you make it animated, it'd be better. It'd give you more to do. It'd give you more to show. So do that, please. Okay, but from what I see, from what I saw, the Super Mario Brothers movie, it looks pretty darn good. To me, anyway. Just like I hope this video looked good to you. And if it did, leave a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on social media. As always, I am very humbled to make this video. For all of you guys who are watching, enjoy for today. Hopefully a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Friday. And remember, if you guys want to talk or chat, I'm always going to be here to lend a mail. Always have your back. Take care and make good choices. 607 all day, baby.